Memphis, 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 Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said I don't have that fire in my eye no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
Yo, what up, and welcome back to another episode of Grizz 901. I am your host, Daniel Greer, and we are presented to you by Bluff City Media. We're coming off a 125-1. What was it? This is terrible. I'm so irritated that I don't even remember the score. 110 pisses me off. I'm not gonna lie. It was a lot of good effort tonight. We're gonna get into the entire game in general, but I want to just kind of go through the very beginning and look at a lot of the players that we had that actually showed up and a lot of players that did not. I want to get into a little bit of what in the world we are doing with our offense. Our offense just looks like trash. And I don't know what the island of Patrick St. Germain, Augustine, whatever his name is, what offense are we running? Like, are we running the Bucks offense that doesn't have Giannis? Like, at what point does things change? As you can tell, I'm a little frustrated. We're going to get into that with Shawn Coleman as soon as he shows up. Shawn's late. So if you know Shawn, say, hey, Shawn, you're supposed to be on the show. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's asleep. We don't actually know. Maybe he's crying. We listen, if it's a solo show, I'm going solo dojo tonight, but hopefully it's not a solo show. Let's go ahead and get into the positives. I'm going to go to the positives right off the bat just because I think it's best to start positive. So let's go to the positive. And that's going to be with Jaren Jackson Jr., player of the game. Grizz 901, player of the game, 30 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 blocks. Listen, I could not figure out which one I wanted to go with, whether it was going to be Desmond Bane or whether it's going to go ahead and go with Jaren Jackson Jr. Well, just looking at the stats in general, Jaren did better than him. He had 9 rebounds compared to Bane's 6 rebounds, 4 assists compared to Bane's 3 assists. And then you can add in the blocks. Obviously, Bane did have 3 steals, but he led in a lot of the categories. The only category he didn't lead in, and I'm not going to put too much into this because it could be the situations, but Desmond Bane was a ±0. And Jaren Jackson Jr., -25. Okay, that's not ideal. Not ideal at all. But our player of the game we're going to go with is Jaren Jackson Jr. We're going to stay away from the stats. We're going to not watch the box score and just say that Jaren Jackson Jr. was the player of the game. We have to give it to him. I've completely just kind of crapped on him the entire last show. And so I got into it a little bit in the spaces as well. So I have to give him his flowers, okay? Because that is, I'm going to be the guy who eats the crow. I hope I eat the crow. But I don't know. I'm frustrated, and I honestly, I don't even know where to start. All right, let's go ahead and go into the comments a little bit. Volcano says the Grizzlies are wilding this year, man. They don't have a direction. And that's my biggest issue is the lack of direction on offense. It looks like we're still trying to run a 5-out, even on the smallest teams. Not every team needs to have the exact same offensive scheme against. It doesn't make sense. And so that's what I'm hoping changes this year, because whatever is happening right now is not it. I have not read this, so I hope it's not terrible. LOL, nope, Jones. I just hope that Josh sees how the season started and recognizes the importance of his actions and how much this team actually needs him to be available as the franchise point guard. Ja is the franchise point guard. That's why I said that he was going to be and is the MVP of this team, because without him, we don't run. Whatever the island of Patrick St. Germain, Augustine, whatever his name is, thinks he's doing, well, he's not doing it with the best player. And I don't know if he didn't understand when he accepted the job that he would not have 12, but he doesn't. So I don't know what's happening on that forefront, but I hope that his toes are feeling good in the sand at whatever island he's in, because the island that we're on, We're on the loser island right now, and I'm tired of being a loser on this island. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in our guy, Shawn. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Just, hey, tired of just losing, but when it comes down to it, two things stand out.
Hey, Shawn, let me stop you real quick. Check out your mic real quick. It sounds bad. So,
Come here. Hold on.
hey, in the comments, let me know if you're hearing Shawn and he sounds bad as a bad connection. This is what happens when you show up late, ladies and gentlemen. Just think of this as an interview. You're showing up and nobody can hear you. Your mic isn't working. You're not prepared for the interview. You're not prepared for the job. All right, so I'm going to take you off of mute. All right. It says their mic isn't connected. All right, I'm going to give you a second. Let me try to figure you out. I'm going to go back to a solo dojo real quick. All right, so real quick. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the offense. It just doesn't make sense of what they're running. My thinking is, and I said this last episode, is to actually find a way to get some kind of, I guess, simplicity of the offense, just in general, because the simple fact is, if you're going to run a different offense when Ja comes back, then let's go ahead and figure out that offense now. It can't get any worse. It can't. And so my thinking is, and they did this a little bit early on in the game, and maybe they went away from it once, I don't know, everything broke down. But having Marcus Smart with the ball in his hands more as a true point guard, and then running Desmond Bane off of a 2 guard, that makes sense to me. But the problem is nobody else is doing anything. And that is the frustrating part, is looking at the stat lines. Man, it just looked like they were just kind of running uphill the entire game in the very first half. Nobody's on a string. And we're talking about how Marcus Smart is supposed to be a better defender than Dillon Brooks. I know Dillon Brooks looked bad, and I know he frustrates me. But this defense doesn't even look nearly as good as it was. And I know this is a small sample size, but it just looks like we're always chasing our tail. Looks like we're always out of position, and it looks like we're always getting beat. And then at the last second, we have our guy, Jaren, who's going up for a block, misses the block. At that point, it's a free ball for them as an easy putback. And so I'm not exactly sure what the defense is doing. I'm not sure what the offense is doing. But tonight is a game you have to win. You're playing at home. You had one of the best records last season, and they go ahead and set a guy. But then we have so many wide open 3-pointers that it's just crazy. All right, let's look at the stats real quick. Shawn is the more stats guy, but I want to look through these real quick. If you look at the 3-point, the Grizzlies went 14 of 37 tonight for 37.8%. Not bad. Listen, I will take that almost every night. But then I look at the other line is 23 of 47 for 48.9%. Almost 50% from 3-point. They shot 50% from the field overall. If you're wondering how many shots they took, they scored 125 points. They shot 84 shots, and the Grizzlies shot 92. The Grizzlies shot 8 more shots than them overall. We rebounded pretty evenly with them. Offensive boards, we had 4 more than them. They beat us on defensive end, pretty much, but close to even on the boards. The Grizzlies had less turnovers than them. Fast break points, we had more than them. Points in the paint, 52 compared to 34. Just overall, it didn't look great. And so I'm hoping things change. I don't know exactly what's going to happen or what will happen, but I hope that things will change soon. All right, let's go ahead and bring in Shawn back. Shawn.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I don't know what's going on, man.
Let me tell you what Alan says. It sounds as bad as possible. You're sounding good.
Okay, I'm sounding good. I don't know what was going on there, man, but we're good. All right. So what's up, Daniel? Good to see you. Good to be with you again. Sorry about the the mic issues, but we're back and we're good.
Yep. No, we're good, man. Thank you for joining me. If anybody doesn't know who Shawn is, Shawn Coleman, he does the GBB live here with Bluff City Media, but also you've been around for, it seems like, forever. You were honestly around before I was into the media game. And so, one, it's a pleasure to be on the same team as you. We've done this, obviously, many a times. But if people don't know you, you can go and find on Twitter at StatsSAC. That's where Shawn is. You're not Mim Grinshomer, so I apologize about that. But honestly, tonight, let's get into the game. I've given my thoughts and probably too much thoughts at this point. Your overall thoughts on the season, but this game tonight.
Oh, it continued the same trend that we right now, unfortunately, cannot escape. And the two things that are standing out are that the Grizzlies are losing the bench minutes because of the fact that we just are shorthanded right now. But the other thing is that stands out is that we can't stop threes. We cannot limit 3-point shots. And so how does that impact the game? Well, take this for instance. Tonight, the Grizzlies had their best first quarter of the season. 36 points coming into this year. The 92 times that which by the way, over the past 2 years coming into the season, over the previous 2 years, the Grizzlies had scored 92 points or had scored 30 points 92 times in the first quarter, second most in the NBA. They won 68 of those games, a 75% clip. They did it once again. And the reason why they do it so often is because they're a defense first team. When they get good offensive starts, they're a very hard team to beat. But why, if they had a 6-point lead at the end of the first quarter and they were shooting the ball well, had a good offensive quarter, why all of a sudden do we find ourselves behind? Well, because in the second and third quarter, so far this year, or tonight, for instance, the Grizzlies were outscored by the Mavericks by 16 points in the second and third quarters. The Mavericks made 11 threes over that stretch. The Grizzlies made 4. On the season so far, the Grizzlies now through 4 games have been outscored by 38 points in the second and the third quarter. A big reason why? The Grizzlies themselves have made 25 threes. Their opponents have made 38, which is a difference of 39 points. The Grizzlies cannot stop the three. The Grizzlies, unfortunately, right now, just do not have an equation when it comes to those bench minutes. When it comes to the second units playing, the Grizzlies right now just do not have a formula to be able to be successful. So it's not winning the bench minutes. It's the inability to stop the three. And combining those two things together, the thing that has stood out over these past 3 losses is that the opposition has had the best bench player. Reggie Jackson for Denver, Corey Kispert, the big big first half for the Wizards, and then tonight it was Tim Hardaway Jr. So those are what's standing out. The inability for us to be able to win those bench minutes, and not only the inability, just us getting throttled in those bench minutes, and it's because of the fact that teams are able to hit threes against us. 23 threes tonight for Dallas is the second most threes that a team has ever hit in a game against the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies have allowed 67 threes through the first 4 games of this season. That's the second most of threes allowed all time in the first 4 games of a season by a team. So we're talking about historically bad 3-point defense in terms of the franchise and the league. And with the fact that we're limited as we are on offense right now, it's simple. The formula is just not there for us to win these games. Yeah. Good to see the offense. Good to see our main players playing, but it's just, I can keep going on and on, but it's that's what stands out.
Yeah, I looked at the stats, and the first thing I saw was 47 3-point attempts, and then I looked and I saw, wait, hold on, 84. Does that mean they took 10 more 3-point attempts than they took 2-point attempts?
Yeah,
37 2-point attempts. That is mind-boggling, just crazy. But the fact that we're so bad, like I'm betting against us for the other teams to hit threes because I know the stats and what the stats say. Like I know, if I know that, and I'm the dummy here, if I know that, then so many other the smarter people know that, and they know how to attack the Grizzlies because these aren't like being like we're not in their face when they're shooting the three outside of some, right? I know that tonight we played decent defense on Luka. Luka's going to be Luka, right? And I'm okay with that. If Luka wants to go off for 60, it is what it is, as long as we're near him. But the problem is, it's the other guys. We're overhelping, leaving guys, and then we're just running and chasing. At that point, it's just going to be open 3 all day.
Absolutely. And the other thing, I've harped on it, and I know I can be repetitive, Daniel, you can certainly admit that, but the thing that I'll say is that this is a team whose strength is defense. Yeah. This is a team who gets the lead early through setting the defensive tone, and then they're able to add the shooting from their bench when everybody's healthy to help them extend that lead and hold it.
Right.
This is not a team that's built to play from behind. But in second, third, and fourth quarters this year, we've played a total now of what? What's 12 times 12? 144 minutes. We have played 144 minutes of second, third, and fourth quarter so far this year, Daniel. Do you want to know how many of those minutes we've had the lead?
12.
8 minutes and 40 seconds. And do you want to know, out of the 8 second half quarters, 96 minutes worth of action, out of those 8 second half quarters so far this season, how many minutes we've had the lead?
10. 6.
1. We had the lead late in the fourth quarter against Denver, 98-97, and then what happened? Jokic and Jamal Murray hit threes. So that's what it is. This team is playing from behind for the reasons that I mentioned just a second ago. The bench unit's just getting throttled. It's hard for them to be able to come back. We get out of our offensive flow because we've got to try to force threes to try to catch back up. But then, like tonight, 110-106, it looked like we had some momentum going. What happened? Another three. So every time it seems, and it's been awesome. This is why I'm not hitting the panic button. Despite how badly the Grizzlies have struggled during those bench minutes, when those starters come back in each of the last 3 fourth quarters, we've come back. But then when we get close, we can't break through because we allow another three and then another three. Yeah. That's what it is. Until the 3-point defense gets better, even with Santi and Luke coming back, hopefully over the next week, until that 3-point defense gets better, it's going to be hard for us to win.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's frustrating as a fan. I'm not going to lie. I love doing this post-game show. I love it. Like, it's so much fun for me to come on here and speak with people like you, Nate, and whoever might come on here. But it pisses me off so bad when I know that our team that I cheer for, that we all cheer for, is so good, but they're playing just so terrible. But then, like, you find yourself, do I make excuses because, you know, they're obviously having injuries? And so you're trying to see a little bit of what is real and, you know, what is, you know, is it the offense? Is it the defense? Is it injuries? Is it having your best players suspended 25 games? Like, you know, what do you look for? And so that's the challenging part of this. And honestly, sometimes it makes it not as much fun because we can't come on here and just goof and entertain and have a good time. But I do want to look at some of this in general, because I do think it's important to kind of look through the offense. And so for the next few minutes, we're going to go through the offense. And then I want to kind of ask your, I guess, your opinion on what's next, right? And so when are the guys, you know, that you would expect that they come back, and how do they fit in? And then we'll take a small break, and then we'll have the preview for the Jazz game on the on November the 1st. I almost said October again, but November the 1st. But if you are for some reason joining us for the first time, welcome. I'm the host, Daniel. This is Shawn. Normally Nate is here. He's actually at a concert with his wife, and so he's got the night off tonight. But we're part of Bluff City Media here on the Bluff City Media Network. And so if you're not a member, or you're not the Bluff City Media Insider, whatever it's called, if you're not signed up for the Discord, go ahead and sign up. It's $5 a month, but also hit the subscribe button and make sure you're tuned in with us here at Grizz 901. We go live each and every post game. All right, Shawn, let's go ahead and hit on the offensive woes, because that's what I want to talk about, is trying to figure out what's wrong with the offense. Is it, I guess, a stylistic issue? Is it just shooting terrible? Is it the island Patrick Saint Germain Augustine, whatever his name is it his offense that's the issue? They're trying to figure it out. Like, what is it?
So far right now, it's just a short sample size. And the reason that I say that is because we're looking at a pretty inconsistent attack. What occurred in the first 2 games, we were 22 of 75 for 3. We're averaging close to 43s a game, but we're only making about 30% of them. Yep. Then what happened against the Wizards? We finally make it good on those threes, but then inexplicably against one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA, we're 20 of 44 from inside the arc. Tonight, we finally were able to find some balance. We finally were able to get that hot start. That's what I've been harping on, and I know I'm repetitive again, but we finally had that hot start. And the reason why is because the Grizzlies were actually able to finally get the ball rolling. They were making threes, they were making twos, 45% from the field in tonight's game, 38% from three. That is a good enough offensive night on most nights for this Grizzlies team to be able to win. But of course, just the Mavericks going off from three that they didn't allow it for it to happen. The point that I'm getting at is that the Grizzlies offense, it actually is the implementation of what should work is there. Tonight was arguably our best offensive game, even though we scored only 110 points. We were able to find some success from inside the arc and from outside the arc. The other encouraging thing is, I talked about it today, on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. The Grizzlies actually are a top 5 team in open three-point looks this year. They're fifth coming into this game. They were fifth in open three-point looks, or first in open three-point looks, fifth in wide open three-point looks. They just were not hitting their shots. So this implementation is there. The execution is what has to improve. And tonight was a step forward. It's just taking time with all the offensive firepower that we've got on the injured list right now.
Yeah, but I still like the way the offense is working right now. And it just seems like there is no flow to it. And it just seems like it's kind of disjointed in a little bit. Do you like the style of the 5 out? Because, honestly, that puts Jaren outside, which is fine, but just putting X out more, and he's hitting, a 3 a game, but he's not shooting at a high percentage. That's not the style of offense that I think this team really is. I think a 4 out 1 in, let him roam, back cuts, swing, a little bit motion. That way there's flow to this would be, in my opinion, I think a better style of offense. But right now it looks like the offense is just kind of, I don't know. It's still hit or miss. Like sometimes we have, people that get a free run to the basket and it looks great, right? Because it's wide open in the lane. But we're not driving enough to make this 5 out offense look good. So I know they talked about like, hey, it's the best night, but literally, like, we were losing the entire game. We were chasing the entire game.
Correct.
And so, like, I don't know. So is this something that you prefer or think it's a good fit for this team?
Yes. And the reason why it's a good fit is because that's what's going to happen for this team to be able to take the next step to be that true contender that we're looking. Listen, the formula for the Grizzlies in the past, the reason why they've been so good in the regular season over the past few years is due to 2 things. Getting the extra possessions due to Steven Adams offensive rebounds, and before that, it was getting out in the fast break and creating turnovers. That works in the regular season. It does not work typically in the playoffs. The 5 out offense of not only being able to consistently hit threes, but being able to make sure that they're also frequently the best shot of the possession that you have, that's how you win in the playoffs. And the way that you do that is getting repetition. That's why we went out and got Luke Kennard. That's why we've helped to develop the shot of several of our players. That's why we have developed Desmond Bane. Tonight, for instance, I thought the balance was pretty good when we were in the game. Jaren Jackson Jr. and Xavier Tillman, 34 total shots, 11 were from 3, 21 or 22 23 were from inside the arc. That's a good percentage. 2/3 of their shots were inside the arc. That's what you want. Jaren had a good game. X did not. So I think, again, the implementation is there. I know at the end of the day, we're taking more 3s than 2s, but that's just a natural development when you're trying to get back in the game because, as I mentioned earlier, you're playing from behind so much. So that's the thing. The reason why we really have not seen this flow, this balance, this, preferred offense that we would like to see is because we really are not able to we're out of our element of being able to run it effectively because we're playing from behind so much. And a lot of times we're playing from significantly behind.
One thing prior to Ryan's comment, does Ja fix this instantly and make this offense actually work?
Absolutely. And the reason why is because you get 2 things with John Morant. You get your best playmaker back, which helps out with the turnovers, helps out with the efficient playmaking. It helps out with the ability to make sure that the best shot possible is found on as many possessions as possible. And then all this potential spacing that we're talking about, if we start to shoot the 3 well to start the game, Ja getting to the rim becomes easier. Or if Ja's putting rim pressure on that, which besides Jaren and Bane at times, we don't really have that right now without Ja. If Ja is putting rim pressure on there, collapses the defense, and then you've got better shots from three. So that's how it instantly is able to help out with Ja coming back. Either he himself work with.
Gotcha. Okay. You froze for a half second real quick, but real quick, I'm going to go to this. Ryan wants to know how much of those open looks are because of the offense and the teams just ignoring our role guys as shooters.
That has something to do with it. It definitely does. And so far through the first two games, that played into those teams' hands. But over the past couple of games, it's something that we've begun to make teams pay for. Now, again, it's hard to be able to sit here and say that it's working because our defense just is allowing too many other threes to hit from the opponent's side. But Ryan brings up a good point. That is something that is part of the equation. Us getting open looks is because teams are probably not respecting us as much as we might like. But now that we've started to hit some threes, you're going to see that respect go up a bit. But the reason why I say that those open looks are happening because of our efforts is because the Grizzlies are consistently putting an emphasis on wanting to hit those 3-point shots. The 5-out opportunity creates open looks. We've seen some motions. We've seen some different opportunities tonight. I felt like, especially early in the game, we were a lot more crisp in getting those motions in place to create those open shots. So, yeah, part of it is teams are just like, hey, you want to shoot from the outside? Prove it to us you can hit shots. If you want to talk about one bright spot of this team, they have gotten much better at hitting the three over the past two games than they did the first two. And that, again, is a reason why not to hit the panic button.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and go to here. Where do we go from here, Shawn? Like, we obviously have Luke in concussion protocol, and this must be the most stringent concussion protocol, and the NFL does not know of it. They have not learned about this type of concussion protocol because they don't run it. They just run to the blue tent, and then they put the blue tent down, and you're okay. And then eventually you go into concussion protocol midweek, and then you're okay, and you come out, and everything's groovy. So, all right. So our concussion protocol is a little crazy in the NBA from what I'm seeing. We just lost Shawn. Must have a bad connection. And so my question to Shawn will be is where do we go from here? And that's kind of what I'm looking at, is trying to figure out what's next. Where is Aldama? Okay. When is Aldama going to kind of come back, and what will it look like? And so I'm curious where all that goes. And so let's go ahead and bring Shawn back in real quick. Shawn, whoops. Sorry. Just me buttons. Where do we go from here? Because obviously we have Aldama that's expected to come back at some point. We have obviously an issue with his ankle, and it could be tomorrow or it could be Wednesday he plays. Probably not, but he is supposed to be going on 5-on-5 coming up soon. So what's next? When are we possibly, you thinking we might get Aldama or Luke back at this point? And then you talk about Biyombo coming in at some point once he gets signed after the 5th game.
Yeah, you're going to probably get Luke. I would say you'll probably get Luke back this week. I also think that you will get Aldama back probably next week. And then, of course, you'll get Bismack Biyombo back on Friday. He'll probably be implemented over the weekend. So I think that's the thing. You're instantly getting back 3 pieces that are going to help out big factors that are hurting your ability to be able to win games. Biyombo is going to be able to anchor that second unit defense, which is hopefully going to allow for offenses not to have as much success when it comes to being able to drive off them hitting the threes. And then, like I've said, when you get Santi and Luke back, listen, there's Santi Aldama and Luke Kennard. They're not the difference between this team being as bad as they are right now and them instantly becoming a contender. But if we can set the defensive tone early in games and against an easier part of our schedule coming up, we should have an easier time doing that. But take the defensive tone set early and mix in Kennard and Aldama being able to shoot well in that late first, early second quarter. That's how they're going to start to win games. And again, I'm encouraged by how the offense has looked, especially from 3 over the past 2 games. I definitely think that's going to continue to get more consistent as we see us playing against easier teams, to be honest with you, and as we build confidence to be able to play a full 48 minutes.
Speaking of this, Ladarius Collins is asking, and he's pretty much saying, K.B. Matthews lost his 3 first-round wings, just don't got it. What do you say to LaRavia, Roddy, and even, I guess that's Is that Zaire that you're including in there?
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Zaire's fine. I'm not worried about him.
Yeah, and Roddy has continued to get better over the past few games as well. Laravia, listen, I'm probably right there with the biggest Laravia supporters. It's not there right now. He needs repetitions at South Haven. Is he ever going to figure it out? Possibly. He's been where we've seen Santi, where we've seen Zaire before as well. But Laravia right now is not adding any value when it comes to a rotation. And I get that you kind of just got to play the guys that you have available to you. But the first three guys off the bench right now should be Rose, Roddy, as well as John Conchar. And if Laravia is not it, maybe Lofton, we'll see what happens over the next few games. But Laravia right now just is not contributing to the to the rotation at the NBA level. But to say all 3 first-round picks don't have it, I think that's an inaccurate statement. Zaire's just fine. Roddy is continuing to improve. Laravia, you send him to South Haven. He may be a miss by now, but you send him to South Haven, get him some repetitions, and see if he can figure something out.
Ladarius, thank you for your comment. Shawn says, you're wrong. You're wrong. So 1 second, I got to ask about Kenny Lofton because we never talk enough personally, but I want to obviously ask so many questions about, the team and kind of, us communicate enough. But Kenny Lofton Jr., what's going on? Like, obviously it can't be his play as much as something else behind the scenes because he's not playing enough to you to be able to see that. And usually if they're trying to make a decision on whether or not the guy's got it, you would play him a little bit. Like Jenkins is fine with going with guys and just letting them play and just trying to figure it out that way. But there's something there. There's something wrong. And I'm curious what that actually might be. Looks like you just froze for a second. Can you hear me? Yep. I think.
Yeah.
Okay. There you are. Go ahead. So what's up with Kenny?
Anything that he adds offensively, he gives back defensively. The other night when he had 5 minutes of play, yes, he made a couple of good plays. He made a good defensive play. He also committed 2 fouls in 5 minutes. Kenneth Lofton is a very talented offensive player. He is very skilled, especially for his size. He did a tremendous job with his development of focusing on the things that make him relevant as a potential NBA talent, footwork, technique, what have you. But right now, when he's in the game, whatever he potentially could add offensively, and he's got to have high usage a lot of times to be able to add value offensively, he's not going to get that at the NBA level. And whatever he's adding offensively there, rebounding, scoring, what have you, he's giving back on the defensive end. I know that there are many that love Kenny Lofton. I would love to see him potentially have a role here. However, what I will say is that with the fact that he was not a drafted player and the fact that if Bismack Biyombo comes in and we need size, there is a legitimate chance that once Ja Morant comes back, Bismack Biyombo or a potential trade for another big man leads to the roster spot that's going with Kenny Lofton right now. It leads to them taking that roster spot. There are not good indications right now that Kenny Lofton is long for the Memphis Grizzlies. I know many want for that to happen, and I know that the offensive game certainly continues to be intriguing, but it's not all about offense, especially for a franchise like the Grizzlies that put so much emphasis on defense. You've got to be able to add value on both ends. Right now, Kenneth Lofton has not shown he could do that at the NBA level, and if to this point he's not getting any real type of run with how badly the Grizzlies need offense, that's a pretty good indication that as more talented players start to come in the fold, again, we just may not see Kenny Lofton survive the year with the Grizzlies.
Real quick, the hustles start on November the 10th. Would you expect at that point, I would imagine we get Aldama and Kennard back. You're talking about 10 days, 11 days from now.
Yeah.
Thoughts on who gets sent down there other than the two-way guys? Do you think you see a Laravia sighting? Do you even think you see a Kenny Lofton sighting?
Yes, absolutely. The starting lineup for the hustle should be Jacob Gilliard, Vince Williams, Gigi Jackson, Jake Laravia, and Kenneth Lofton. Jackson Jr., Vince, Laravia, and Lofton need to combine for 70 shots a game. That's what needs to occur in South Haven. You need to give them repetitions. You need to let them make mistakes. You need to let them gel. You need to let them learn from those mistakes and become more efficient as time goes on. Gilliard, Vince Williams, Gigi Jackson, Laravia, Kenneth Lofton Jr. Make that your starting lineup at South Haven. Let them cook, see what they could do, see if they can become an offensive force. And then if that's the case, maybe a Laravia or a Lofton are to the point to where they can contribute.
What's the future for Gigi?
2 years in South Haven at least. That's the reason why they got him. The Grizzlies want to focus on him getting as much repetitions as possible. Is Gigi ever going to turn into something of relevance? The talent is certainly there. There are things that he could do at his age and his size that you can't teach. He shows some incredible flashes, but do those flashes come with consistency? And does that consistency come with efficiency? That's going to take a while, I think, for Gigi Jackson. I do think that there's passion there to play defense. I do think that there's some good focus there to play defense. Otherwise, I don't think the Grizzlies would have gone after him. But I definitely do think that he is at least a couple of years away from even being thought of being a part of the NBA rotation.
Yeah, I agree. Man, I think he has the potential. Gigi has it from what I see. He's still so young, and I think if he needs time to really develop down there, and I think he will. It's just whether or not that the fans can be patient enough to let him develop. That's a whole nother story. All right, let's go ahead and talk about this road trip that we have coming up. Obviously, it's going to be one against the Jazz on Wednesday, and then we have a back-to-back with a day of rest in between with the Blazers, both at their place. How important are these 3 games?
Got to win 2 of the 3. Got to win 2 of the 3. If you can win 2 of the 3, you're 2-5. After that, you've got the Jazz, you've got the Trailblazers for 2. Then you've got the Heat and Jazz again. The Heat are also struggling. So if the Grizzlies can win 3 out of these next 5 games, that allows for them to be able to be 3-6. And going on that West Coast road trip with the Clippers and the Lakers, it's not going to be easy, but you're getting your confidence back, right? You're starting to get, a formula in place that wins. But yeah, the Grizzlies need to take it one game at a time. The team that definitely can be beat. I believe they're about to go 1-3 on the season themselves. I think if the Grizzlies can get off to the start that they did tonight against the Jazz on Wednesday, they'll have an easier time being able to maintain that start. And then from there, if you can get that first win, then build on it. And then you've got 2 against the Blazers. Who's to say if you get that first win against the Jazz, you can't sit there and put 2 back-to-back win against the Blazers, who don't look like they're anywhere close, to being a team that's going to be able to be competitive this year. So, I say that, but we lost to the Wizards. Just get that win. Just get that win on Wednesday. Take what you did in the second half against the Wizards. Take what you did against the first half against the Mavericks. Put those together for a full 48 minutes, and you're going to win a game. And if that can be Wednesday, I'm very confident we can get 2 out of 3 on this road trip, and then maybe even 3 out of 3.
When I was playing basketball, I was in, I think it's high school. My coach went around one day and handed us all 4 quarters, and I was just like, "What are we doing here? What is this?" And he started just going on this entire analogy and this story, and he was like, you can always trade in your 2 quarters, or you can trade in a quarter, but you're never going to have $1, no matter how much you share. You can give your own quarter to him, and it never makes up $1. And just this whole analogy. And when I heard you talk about 4 quarters, the first thing that popped in my head, the analogy is stupid. It makes sense, but it's still stupid. But I had to tell it because it was a high school basketball story that I'll probably never forget.
So first off, I will admit I was old enough to play NBA Live 95, and that was 3 years after you graduated from high school. So I know that you were never athletic enough to actually play basketball in high school. And there wasn't a story mode in NBA Live at that time, so that couldn't have been the source of your story. So basically, you just told a bold-faced lie for the past 90 seconds. That's what I'm taking from this.
Okay. So, hey, little known fact, a lot of people don't know about me. I had 2 full rides for either basketball or baseball. I had to choose because I didn't want to do both. So, you know what? A little story time by Daniel. So I turned down basketball because why, Shawn? I'm white. And I can't hoop like others. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the white person sport in baseball because I can't keep up. And so I understand my role. I'm going to just slow my roll and just stay behind this mic as an old guy now. All right, real quick. The game in general, what I see is these next 3, you have to win the 2 out of the 3. I think that's very, very important. but also just in general. 6 of the next 8 games are all on the road. Okay. And some people might say that's a bad thing. But when you're actually struggling, sometimes going on the road can help you, especially if you're trying to develop, mesh, kind of a gel a little bit. A lot of these guys now are fathers. They will be missing their families, but it allows them, one, to maybe get some more sleep on the road. It allows them to hang out more, because probably when you have family, you can't go to your buddy's house as much as easily as you probably want to. And so that's what I think that actually is very important. 6 of the next 8 games, 3 of those are actually play-in games for the play-in tournament or whatever it's called. Is that what it's called? Play-in tournament?
In-season tournament.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, in-season tournament. And so I think it's very important. Does that ring a bell to you and make sense to you? Or is that just me being stupid thinking, positive?
I mean, I'm thinking positive too. Again, at the end of the day, 2 things stand out. Your bench is going to be better here in the near future once your 6th and 7th guys, when you're fully healthy, are back in Aldama and Kennard. And that's going to play very well into you playing better to start the game. But the other factor is you got to stop the threes. You have, and especially Daniel, it's what's frustrating to me. The guys who were covering the game, they said that, Taylor Jenkins is about as even keel. I think stoic is the word. He's about never high, never low. He was visibly frustrated after last night's game. And he knows the reason why is that the execution, especially on defense, is not there even where it was in the first 2 games. Especially with the fact that you've arguably got the best inside the arc defender in the NBA in Jaren Jackson Jr., there's no excuse why there's so many threes uncontested. You've got to get your butts out there and guard the 3-point line. Listen, the Grizzlies know that. They're the first ones that would tell you that. But the reason why we are losing these games is the same reason why we shouldn't be panicking right now. We know what needs to be done. We're fully capable of doing it. It's doing it. You get a bit healthier, the offensive execution is going to be there. So I'm going to remain positive. If we're sitting here, a week from now and we still haven't won a game, at that point, it's time to hit the panic button. Yeah. But this easier part of the schedule, it's time to take advantage of it, build off the offensive momentum you've had over the past 2 games, and just continue, and you'll see better results.
Yeah, I agree. I hope you're right. I pray that you're right, because I can't come on here and do 0-5. I can't do 0-6, 0-7. I can't. I'm going to quit before that happens. I hope they don't.
Don't quit. The only thing that would make this show better is if you did it with your camera off. But me and you have discussed that plenty of times before. My point that I'm getting at is that at some point it's repetitive. That's the whole thing. The reason why we can't go an hour and a half to 2 hours, after me every weekend when it comes to doing Grizzly Bear Blues, you and Nate when it comes to doing the post-game shows, is because it's the same thing over and over. This team is too talented, even with the players that it has in place, to do the same thing over and over, and that's what's occurring. Yeah. The offense is getting better. You got to limit the threes, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you do. If the other team's making 15-plus threes at a 40% rate, there's a reason why NBA teams over a years-long time span only win about, under 20% of those games when they're allowing that. It's just hard to beat. So get it solved. I know that it sounds simple, but I know. That's what it comes down to. If coaches around the league, the players that play for him, and others know to talk about how calculated and focused Taylor Jenkins can be. 3rd quarter net ratings over his time as a coach show he makes good defensive adjustments.
Right.
But over the past 2+ years now, in October and November games, opposing teams are shooting over 40% against this Grizzlies team. This isn't anything new. They arguably have been the worst early season defense against 3-point shots since the start of the 21-22 season, and it's biting him in the butt again.
Yeah.
That is a hurdle Taylor Jenkins is going to have to overcome. He's got to. Otherwise, it's going to be a lost season, And then you get into conversations that you don't want to have when it comes to Taylor Jenkins. I fully feel Taylor Jenkins is the coach that can lead this team deep into the playoffs and potentially win a title. But right now is an opportunity for him to really show that he can be that guy. And at this point in time, if he makes his name, if he stakes his name in terms of adjustments, the inability for the Grizzlies to stop the three right now is not a good look, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a struggle completely. And I don't know where to go. I know you hit on all these, ideas and what possibly we could look at. In the end of the day, it's execution, and the team has to execute. The team has to be better. And I think they will. I just hope it's not too far gone where they're having to climb uphill, and then it takes so much out of you, almost like you're climbing back into the game, to where when you eventually get to the end of the season, they're just so out of it because they've climbed the whole year and gave it everything. But anyway, all right, we're going to preview the Jazz game. But before that, let's go ahead and hit a commercial. We'll be back here in 1 minute.
I am highly upset, man.
Oh, man.
ESPN, you dastardly dogs you. Last week had us feeling good. They picked the Grizzlies to be first in the West with about 48.5 wins. And what a difference a few days makes.
What a difference.
You put out your list of the top 100 players in the NBA. Desmond Bane jumps in at 61. Jaren Jackson Jr. comes in at number 31. Jaren's top 25 to me, but if you all right, whatever. I think that's a little slight to Jaren. Desmond Baines is disgusting, in my opinion. But then we get Ja Morant, all-NBA player, two-time All-Star, one of the most dynamic offensively players in the NBA, Ja Morant. That guy was number 35 on their list, Kenny Stubblefield. The same people that said the Grizzlies will be the first team in the West. They're going to get that done with just some regular dudes.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
All right, we are back. Let's go ahead and get into the preview. That is the Jazz on Wednesday out in Utah. The Jazz are about to go down to Denver right now. They're down roughly 10 points with about 2 minutes to go in the game. Probably a loss if you're looking at a Murray-led, Jokic-led team in Denver. I don't think they're going to come back from 10 with 2 minutes to go. So what's your thoughts on the Jazz game? Do you think good matchup, any matchups you're looking at in particular?
Absolutely. I'm looking for a game in which the Grizzlies might finally be able to turn that first quarter offense that they showed tonight into a first half offense. The Jazz coming into tonight had the worst defensive rating in the NBA. Now, they played much better tonight. They played very good against the defending champs. But what are the Grizzlies going to be able to do in order to find a solution that's going to work against the Jazz? And I think that it goes to kind of what they did tonight. The three-point shooting was there, but balance it out with getting Jaren Jackson Jr. going. Right. I think that the Grizzlies are going to have a golden opportunity to once again put together a good offensive start. They're definitely going to have to, again, contest those shots because the Jazz do have some players that certainly can hit those three-point shots, Lauri Markkanen and others. And I know that they've got Walker Kessler, but you should be able to find some good passing lanes to find some open looks at the basket. So balanced offense to start out the game, taking care of the basketball. That's another big thing. If the Grizzlies can take care of the basketball, which they did a better job of tonight, if they could take care of the basketball, run their offense, I think they'll find some good offensive success. And then from there, the big thing is just prevent, even if you lose the bench minutes, don't allow for an opposing player to have a big game, like a Colin Sexton. Yeah. Don't let that player have a big game. So preventing the big game from a bench player, turning 2 quarters of good offense in place to start the first half of the game and contesting threes. I think you'll have an easier time doing that against the Jazz, even if it's on the road. And if you can do that, if you can finally play with the lead, I think the Grizzlies will find themselves in a good spot.
I think it's important to say playing with the lead. I think that is the most important part because if you look at their lineup, you have Collins, Markkanen, Kessler. Kessler's obviously the big body inside. I would imagine you probably, if it was me, I'd probably go ahead and go with X against him, even though I would be probably tempted to go with Jaren on him and then run X against Lauri Markkanen just because I think size-wise, I think he can keep up with him, but also I think you got the bigger body over Walker Kessler, who is 10 of 11 tonight. Lauri Markkanen's 10 of 22 tonight. Jordan Clarkson, Taylor Horton Tucker, who is not good. I know he's playing okay tonight. I don't think he's good. The rest of their bench isn't bad. Like Colin Sexton, Kelly Olynyk, Chris Dunn, okay, different. Maybe he's not very good. But Abaji and Keontae George, they're good. They're young guys, but they're good. I think that this team is a decent team, the Jazz. And I don't think they're going to wow you and be amazing. I think they're going to be in a lot of games. And it's your job, as you're the better team, is to put them away. And I think that's what's going to come down to this game close. There is zero chance that this game is not close. The only way is if for some reason they get blown. The Grizzlies get blown out. I don't think we're going to blow out the Jazz. I think they have too many guys, and I think they're too just well-rounded in a sense. They're just a bunch of, normal NBA players. There's nobody that's just going to just kill you, but also there's nobody that's going to really hurt you. Jordan Clarkson, possibly could be the guy who goes off and shoots a lot, but Lauri Markkanen 5 of 11 from deep tonight against Denver. So I hope this is a good game. I hope the Grizzlies win. Maybe their road is where they might find themselves being more successful, especially these next 3 games.
Yeah, and the other big thing is that the reason why the Jazz are in this game, 27 combined rebounds between Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen. Yeah. They have a 16-7 edge over the Denver Nuggets when it comes to offensive rebounds. So it's definitely going to have to be something to watch. Walker Kessler hit 10 of 11 tonight, 13 rebounds. His size is going to be something to definitely contest. So you may not see Jaren be as effective as possible. But hey, if the Grizzlies can just make good passes, that's the thing. If Memphis can just simply get the lead, maybe even score 5+ points in the first 2 or 3 minutes, play with the lead for a few minutes, I think that'll be such a breath of fresh air. And if we could get Kennard back potentially for Wednesday night, even in the limited role, him coming into that second at the latter end of the first quarter, hitting a couple of threes, that'll be big as well. But just, hey, if you can put together your offensive success from tonight there against the Jazz, I think you'll have a lead to play with, and I think you can get the job done.
All right, Shawn, give us your predictions on this next game. I don't know which way I'm leaning just yet. So what's your thoughts on the Jazz game on Wednesday?
Grizz 112, Jazz 106.
10-point win? No, 112-106. Sorry, okay. 6-point win. I thought you said 116-106. Sorry.
So you just bragged about your high school career.
I used my toes, and then one of them was bent. Sorry, counted it twice. All right, so 112-106. Grizzlies would win by 6 points on the road. That would be the most points we have scored all season, which would be a plus.
Oh, just very good.
It would be awesome. Yeah, I'm going to say the Grizzlies win too. And I would say it's going to be a 4-point win on the road. Let's go 109-105. 4-point win. 109-105. Probably, very, very similar. I think that they're going to get near the 110 area just like they did tonight. I just think it's going to be right in that area. It's going to be more of a dogfight.
Hey, let's talk about this, though. I know that you're the betting mind, right? So let's talk about a couple of prop bets, all right, for Wednesday night. How about this? Just flow with me here, okay? Yep. The Grizzlies hit the 30 mark for the second straight game in the first quarter.
Okay.
If over the past 2 years, they've won 75% of the time that they've done that. If they do it for a second straight game, odds are very good they're going to win it. And then how about this? Just an idea here. Just an idea. In that second quarter, don't get outscored by double digits. How about that?
I was just thinking betting the under.
How about that? How about you score 30 in the first quarter and then not get beat by double-digit points in the second quarter? And then, by golly, how about this concept? You win the third quarter. Wow. You win the first and the third quarter. Win both quarters that your starting lineup, which, by the way, the Grizzlies should have the better starting lineup by a significant margin. You win both quarters that your starters play the majority of.
Listen.
This analysis has been brought to you by Shawn's Simple Takes. Just keep it simple. Life is a breeze.
Keep it simple, stupid. I can't disagree, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to bet against them, and hopefully they'll win. Then I'm just going to start betting against the Grizzlies, and we'll do small bets just to make sure they win.
Yeah. How many
That
games?
way
No. How many games in a row have you bet against the Grizzlies, Daniel?
I have never bet against the Grizzlies.
You just said that you just mentioned that you have, or are
No,
you about to start?
I said I'm about to start.
Okay, all right, just
I actually
whatever.
bet against them. I mean, I bet on them for the first time. I rarely do I bet on the Grizzlies. It's usually player props, stuff like that. But I bet on the Grizzlies against the Wizards because I thought that line was just crazy.
Wait, let's see something here. I want to see how good your prop bet is. Let me see something here. Your big prop bet that you were sitting there bragging about earlier today. Let's see here. Oh, let's see here. Hey. Derek Lively is going to have a double-double in the game. Easily should have. So here, let's talk about how easily he should have. 14 minutes played.
Yes.
2 field goal attempts, 6 rebounds, 2 points. Now, how do you go from that stat line to a double-double easily, Daniel?
Oh, it's like you don't have any foul trouble, right? So you're easily to play more aggressive and get points. Him scoring 10 points in that game, that's the hardest part, and that doesn't seem very hard for him. Now, he honestly sleepwalks to 10 plus rebounds if he gets just 25 minutes. The problem is once you get in foul trouble, you're in and out. He picked up 3 in the first half, and then 4 in the first half. He played 1 minute and 2 seconds in the third quarter and picked up his 5th foul.
Hey, 1 minute and 2 seconds in the third quarter, by the way, is 2 seconds longer than, I want to repeat again, any lead the Grizzlies have had in the second half of games this year. By the way, I just want to say that when it comes to betting advice, Daniel is who I go to talk to. I just have the opportunity here to give him hell, so I'm going to take every opportunity to do that. That's all I've got, Daniel.
Well, it was a plus 1,400, and would have been beautiful to hit it. But anyway.
Did you hit it, Daniel?
No, obviously, I did not.
But so you want to bet against the Grizzlies? You want to continue doing that after you were nowhere near close to your bet against them tonight? Got it.
The thing is, with betting, I was closer than what it says. Like the line was at 1,400. Kyrie goes out, and it settled at 7. So like literally half of the betting odds came back towards me in value. So anyway, long story short, he got in foul trouble. The night sucked on that. It is what it is. It's called a loss. You take them. But listen, we're up on the night. Not a big deal. All right, real quick, one more thing before we get out of here. We got the prediction of the game. We both think the Grizzlies are going to win by either 6 or 4 points. Last thing, I know you are a baseball guy. I see the Acuna jersey behind you. Tonight, the Rangers went on the road to win. They now are going up 2-1 against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And if you don't know, people, the World Series is still happening because most of the world has no idea it's still going on. Who's your prediction to win the entire World Series?
Well, I would say the Rangers, but the Diamondbacks are now they're 3-2 at home. Adolis Garcia went out tonight, unfortunately, with that oblique injury.
Scherzer.
Scherzer was out as well. It's going to be interesting because I imagine that I'm not sure yet if the Diamondbacks probably I think would come back with Zach Gallen in game 4 potentially. I think we'll be on 3 days rest. I think the Rangers are going to get it done. I think that their offense is going to be good enough to get the opportunity taken care of. And let's not forget they've got arguably one of the best postseason managers in baseball history on their side in Bruce Bochy. But if Adolis Garcia goes down and he's out for the rest of the series, another player has to step up to support Corey Seager. And if the Rangers find that, they're going to win. If they don't, then that Arizona pitching staff, especially the back end of the bullpen, can get the job done. But at the end of the day, I don't think that Arizona is going to beat the Rangers 3 out of 4 times. I think the Rangers will figure out a way to win it, especially with Bruce Bochy as their manager.
Evan Carter, he'll be the guy that takes over for Adolis Garcia. I like Evan Carter. I think he came on very late for the Rangers. Enough baseball talk. So you think it is going to be a Rangers World Series?
Rangers World Series.
I like it. I'm a Ranger. I'm on the Rangers too. I've been backing them ever since. One, they've been winning a lot of bets for me when they got hot down the stretch. But two, I think they are the better team. I just don't know about their pitching. They are limited in that in a sense, but I think they're going to be all right. But that's all we have tonight.
Bombs.
Got to hit bombs.
And in the postseason, if you hit more home runs than your opponent coming into this year, you win 86% of the time. That's what works.
Unfortunately,
more home runs.
Our Bravos didn't.
Yeah, exactly. When they were set up to be the Braves, I'm gonna lay my plane here. The Braves going into this damn postseason were the most prepared team ever with how you were supposed to have success. I'm not kidding. Most prepared team ever, and they crap the bed. Oh, hey, this is a Grizzlies podcast. We've talked baseball. Listen, keep the offense going. Keep Bain, Jackson Jr., 15-plus shots a game. Get Kennard, get Santi back in, and contest some three-point shots, and you'll figure it out. Even if contesting the three-point shots leads to the opposition being able to get by, being able for them to attack a closeout, guess who's backing you up? The defensive player of the year. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
When it comes to simplifying things, that's what I'm talking about. Guard the perimeter better. Trust the back end of your defense. Xavier Tillman can do this, not the same thing, but he's a very good defender. But at the end of the day, play better defense and get those butts out there and contest threes. Better days are ahead.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, not for you, because you'll have Nate back on the podcast instead of me. So
run them off the line, send them to Trip. Good things are going to happen. All right. Listen, I preaching keep it simple as well. I think it's very smart. And so I think we're going to have a good outcome on this trip over the next 8 games. I hope if they split them 4-4, I feel good. 4 out of the next 8, I would feel on top of the world, because that means we're heading in the right direction. And that means we're heading to hopefully closer to a 500 once Ja gets back. But listen, at this point, anywhere close to 500 would make me happy. But that's all we have. Shawn, I can't thank you enough for coming on this podcast. We were able to talk a little bit about, squeezing some baseball, talk our Grizzlies. But if you're enjoying Halloween tomorrow night, please do. And please be careful coming from a guy who has 2 kids. We're going to be out trick-or-treating. Slow down and enjoy it. It's a fun time of the year. Kids get to dress up and kind of use their imagination, but everybody have an amazing Halloween, and we'll see you Wednesday night after the game. The game starts at, looks like 8:00 Central. So we'll be on around roughly about 10:30. So a little later than normal, but a 10:30 start probably for the post-game show. But that's all we got for Shawn and myself. I'm Daniel Greer. Make sure you always follow us. Be nice and tell your friends.